So we're going to get into string formatting, and this will start to touch on what we need to understand for this assignment. And we're going to start with the string format method. And I start with the string format method because there are two ways to do this, and this is my least favorite way to do it. So I'm going to show you the older way to do it, and I think the less effective. There's some additional flexibility in string.format, but I don't like it as much. You will notice that it is a string method. So the format method allows you to insert variable values into text. And this is important because if I say this, and I have a string here, this works. I can add a string to a string to a string, and it just glues them all together. In fact, there's a word for that. It's called concatenation. But if I want to do this, now what I'm saying is take this string, add it to this integer, and then add it to this string. I can't do that. You'll notice that it underlines it in yellow. The yellow is sort of like the caution, like, I'm not sure, but I think this is going to cause an error. And in fact, it does, because what it says is it's a type error, can only concatenate string to string, not integer. So it's saying you can't add an integer and a string together. So if I wanted to say something like, I am blank years old, again, I can't do that because I can't add an integer to a string. And I can't do this either. I can't put that together as a sentence. That'll give me an error also. So if I wanted to create a sentence that was a string where I put these together and I have this, I could convert this to a string, but there's actually an easier way to do it. And the way I would do it is by adding a placeholder, and then I would say str_sent.format, and I'm just going to print this out. So I'm going to put it in a print function because this is a return method. Okay, so format, and I'm going to say age equals int age. So basically what I'm saying here is I have an integer that's 100, and I have a sentence that says I am age years old. And age, you'll notice, is in these curly braces. Okay, they're the ones that look like sideways mustaches. And that's a placeholder. And so then if I say str_sent.format, so I'm formatting this string, and I'm saying age, whatever goes in that placeholder is whatever is in this variable. So I'm putting that into that sentence. And in that case, it works just fine. Okay, so that's nice. That's a powerful thing you can do. You can also say, I make a year. And we'll say salary. Oops, salary. There we go. Or I'll do a float here. Spelling is hard. FL salary. There we go. Let's say for some reason I have a float that looks like this. And so when I print it out, not really making me feel very good because that's not how we write dollars. Now I could round off that salary to a more precise number, or a less precise number actually, but maybe I need to keep this number for some other calculation. Maybe I need to figure out how much I make over the next 10 years, in which case this times 10 would be a significant difference. than if I round that number off. So, but if I want to just display it correctly, formatting gives me another capability. And this isn't the only one, but this is one of the most common ones. If I add a colon inside there, and I say .2f after the colon, that's a formatting code. So I still have the placeholder, colon, and then a formatting code. And what that says is it's going to display as a 2 decimal floating point number. So when I run that, it rounds it off on the fly, but it hasn't changed FL salary, because if I print FL salary, it's still the longer number. So I can keep the integrity of the data, but also display it in a more useful way. And a lot of times when you're doing multiplication division on floating point numbers, because of the level of precision in Python, you're going to end up with numbers that are long like that. Even if you're, say, you divide 9 by 3, you're going to end up with some weird numbers sometimes. But a lot of times the results of division and multiplication give you weird long decimals. So it's nice to know that you can display that in a way that makes sense while keeping the precision of your numbers. So that's another thing that you can do with str format. Now, str format has a few different ways to do it. The way you saw me do this was, and I'm just going to, let's go back to just the age. So we're keeping it more simple. There we go. The way you saw me do that was in a named placeholder. And that gives me a lot of control. I can say age is going to go right here. I could also have multiple age placeholders in my sentence. I know that doesn't make sense, but you can see I can insert that one value in multiple places using named placeholders. There are a couple other ways to do it. And another way to do it is to have indexed placeholders. So I would have 0, 1, 2, and let's say str bill name equals Bill. Okay, and my name is name, or we'll just go 1 because we're just doing index placeholders, and str name. Okay, so in this case, I've got indexed placeholders 0, 1, 2, and so on. And so as long as the number of arguments that I give to string.format is the same as the number of indexes, it will just take the first one and put it in 0, take the second one and put it in 1. That doesn't allow you the same level of complexity with having repeated values throughout the string, but it's pretty simple. It can get confusing if you have a longer body of text that you're inserting into. I can also be really lazy about it and just have empty placeholders. This is the least precise way to do it, the most haphazard, most likely to produce errors, but it still works. And it'll just say, as long as the number of these is the same as the number of these, it'll just take them and pop them in there in order. So that's string.format. It's just okay, in my opinion. There's actually a much better way to do it, though.